I want to talk to you today about a painting I did in 2019. This painting was a painting that seemed to come together really easily. One of those paintings that almost seemed to paint itself. And when I'm painting, I like to photograph as I go. And the fact that I've only got 3 photos of the progress of this painting just shows how quickly it did come about. Anyway, it taught me a few things, this one. It's called Playtime, and it was the first time that I can remember actually painting and being in what they call in flow. And most of you will know what that is, but for me it was new. And it's when you're just so in the painting, in the process of painting, that you're completely unaware of, what's going on around you, if there's anything, well, there wasn't at the time, but, you're just so in the process of putting on paint, and it just is easy, and your decisions just seem to be really intuitive and good. You don't have to think hard. It's just sort of one thing flows and easily from another, and it's just a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful state to be in. Once you know what that's like, and that was the first time for me, I think, it's then a sort of a hiatus that you strive to get into after that. But anyway, so that was a really special. I don't really have much memory of how it came together. It happened so quickly, and yet it was a really, a successful painting. When it was done, though, I was left asking, why does this work so well? Because, I was struggling with all my other paintings as I work in a series. And the others just, were hard work, and yet this one had just come together so easily. So I was asking myself why. And having thought about it, I think one of the things is that when I'm painting, I ask myself a series of questions. And one of the questions that I'm asking constantly as I'm painting is, when I do something and I'm thinking, what's the next thing to do? I ask myself, what's the opposite to what I've just done? So, for example, if I had just painted on something light, I'd be looking for something dark. If I had done something very careful, I'd be looking to do something much more spontaneous and loose. If I had made a big shape, I might be looking to do something fine and like a line or something next to it. So I'm looking for opposites to try and sort of maximize differences. As well as having opposites, you've also got to have relationships. You've also got to have commonalities. It's a bit like having a dinner party. When you are thinking about who to invite to your dinner party, you want to have people that have a variety of interests or experiences, so that the conversation, isn't just all centered around one thing, so that you've got a bit of variety, and it's interesting for other people to be talking about new things or new experiences or things that they didn't know about or something, so that you've got different avenues to go into and explore, different experiences to have during the dinner party. But you want to have those differences, but you've also got to make sure that your guests have some sort of, they can relate to each other, so they must have some sort of commonality as well. Imagine if you had organised your dinner party and everybody was seated together, and then your last guest arrives and it's an alien from outer space or some other planet. And this person looks, well, it's not a person, it's an alien. This alien looks completely different, perhaps speaks or communicates in a completely different way that nobody else can understand, and maybe even eats in a completely different way, or different food, or whatever, doesn't eat, or has some tube in its head or something, I don't know. But this person, this being is so completely different and has no commonality to anything else around it. well, suddenly your dinner party is going to feel a little awkward because you're going to have, even though you want to be very inclusive and you want to include this alien, you haven't got any common ground. There's no, for one thing, you can't even communicate because he's speaking Martian and you're speaking planet Earth. So you've got to have sort of relationships, and to make it interesting, you've got to have relationships so that you have harmony, and you've got to have differences and opposites so that you create interest. And when you get both of those things in the right sort of balance, then you have a really interesting and lovely painting. And somehow I think I managed it with this painting. I entered it in an award, and it was the first one actually that got somewhere in one of those awards, so it was really exciting. So leaving our dinner party and coming back to the painting, in this painting the alien is a little bit like that green and white hoop that's in the painting. It's very different from anything else that's in the painting. However, it does have some commonalities. The green that I've used in the stripes around it is used some elsewhere in the painting as well. Just the fact that it has pattern on that hoop, there are other areas of pattern in the painting as well. And the colour harmony that green harmonises with the other colours around it, with the orange and the other predominant colours as well. It's like a big fat line, and I've also got other lines in the painting. So as well as it being different, it's also very similar in that it's long and skinny and it's a line. It relates to the other lines in the painting as well. So when we make the painting, we have to maximise differences, but we also have to make sure that our different elements can live harmoniously within their environment of other shapes and colours and marks and effects and things like that. So I hope that's been helpful for you in your work when you're making decisions about what to do next. Do you think about opposites and maximising differences but still keeping some relationship between what you're putting into your painting or the colours that you're using or the shapes and marks you're making? If so, leave a comment below. If you've got a different way or you ask different questions in your painting process, I'd be really interested to hear that. It's always interesting to know how other people work through the same problems that we all have as we're going through our work. And also I have a Facebook group called the Upbeat Artists. So if you would like to join a wonderful, supportive and generous community of artists who are all nutting out ideas in their work and sharing their wins and their losses and their difficulties and their gains, then come and join us in the Facebook group, Upbeat Artists. Love to see you there. Okay, have a great painting week.